Hey guys, today we're going to talk about something that happens in the 1920s called the Red Scare. So, just a little background before I start talking about what is the Red Scare. Um, you need to understand this cultural tension that is growing in the United States over different topics. So, we're having a clash of values, old values versus new values. What does it mean to have American values at this time? There's a lot of cultural change that is happening with the economy, um, with cities, with race, with urban versus rural settings. Many people are going to start to be concerned that there is a decline in U.S. values and the U.S. civilization. There's a great shift away from Puritan beliefs and cultures. The first group from Europe who's going to come and create colonies here in the US. We have this sense that there's Victorian respectable values that are being forgotten across America. The cultural is shifting away from those respectable values that were in the 1800s. We also have immigrants bringing new cultures, religions, languages, and beliefs to our society. So we have this ever changing cultural landscape in the US. Women's roles are changing. Conversations about race are changing and adapting as well. City beliefs, etc. We also have this growing political dynamic or shifting political dynamic as well that is starting abroad. During World War II, Russia is going to struggle. They are taking on the brunt of the Eastern Front. They're really struggling to get by. Their economy is collapsing. People are starving. There's a lot of pressure on the Tsar to abdicate his throne, the monarchy in Russia at this time. In 1917, Lenin is successfully going to lead a revolution of workers to overthrow the Russian monarchy. This revolution is known as the Bolshevik Revolution. This overthrowing of Russia's government, the monarchy, is going to turn Russia into a communist country. Now remember, we have a lot of immigrants coming from Eastern Europe during this time. So there's going to be this concern that communist values are coming over with Eastern European immigrants coming to the United States. At the same time this is happening, we are having more and more strikes that are going to happen in the 1920s based off of post-World War I US economy. During this time, we're going to have over 3,300 strikes across the country where workers are demanding wage increases, better pay in order to keep up with the growing inflation that is happening across the country. So we have people who are upset with work environment, working pays, and we also have some people who are going to take it to the next level, take it beyond strikes, where we have a small group of radicals who are going to form the Communist Labor Party in 1919. So that's going to kind of set the stage for what we call the Red Scare. So the Red Scare. The Red Scare is widespread fear of communism taking over the US. The 1920s is going to be known as the first Red Scare. We're going to see the second Red Scare after World War II. We'll talk about that later. That one is more well known than the Red Scare of the 1920s. But we have this widespread fear and paranoia of communism taking over. So people are going to really push back. The person who is going to push back the most is Attorney General A. Mitchell Palmer. He is determined to prevent the spread of communism in the United States. Palmer is going to perform a series of raids on individuals he believed were dangerous to U.S. security. He is going to deport over 249 Russian immigrants without cause. Just the fact that they are Russian is going to be enough for him to deport them. In January of 1920, he is going to tell federal agents to break into homes of suspected anarchists without search warrants. He's going to jail labor leaders, and he's going to hold over 5,000 citizens in jail without their right to legal counsel. Palmer is going to feel that American civil liberties, so the First Amendments, well, not First Amendments, the Bill of Rights, those protections against the government, he feels that is less important than rooting out potential communists and wrongdoers. Eventually, most of the people he arrests are going to be released, but many of them are going to still be deported without cause. This creates a sense of like a witch hunt across the United States. People are seeing the Palmer raids, they're starting to react, and some of the people are going to take the law into their own hands or take their interpretation of the law into their own hands. We have this group called the American Legionnaires in Washington State that are going to start to attack members of a communist group called the Wobblies. Yes, that's their name. 12 radicals are going to be arrested. One is going to be beaten, castrated, and then shot. We're going to have members of the American Legionnaire just kind of killing anyone who is part of the Communist Party in Washington State. In New York's, we're going to have, not New York City, but New York State, the legislature is going to expel 5 communist representatives from their ranks based off the fact that they were socialist. There are going to be 28 states that ban any public display of the red flag, of any red flag, because red is tied with socialism and communism, thus the term Red Scare. There is this widespread, sweeping persecution of anyone who might even hint at being communist or having ideas of communism. And people are starting to grow concerned about how the government is handling it. Americans are going to start to push back against this witch hunt mentality that's happening, saying the raids are taking away American civil rights and civil liberties, and saying we have the freedom of speech, even if it goes against what the government, our form of government, is here in the US. So there is going to eventually be a pushback against the Red Scare, saying that civil liberties should be respected and protected once again. So eventually this will calm down, but not before we see the Sacco and Vanzetti trial. On April 15th, 1921, we are going to see 2 shoe warehouse employees are going to be murdered during a robbery. Police are going to arrest 2 Italian immigrants of this crime. Oh, typo. That should be Bartholomew. Sorry about that, guys. All right, the 2 Italian immigrants that are going to be arrested are Nicola Sacco and Bartholomew Vanzetti. They are going to maintain their innocence, but there are 2 strikes against them. Strike 1, they are both anarchists, so anti-government, and 2, they are both socialists. 2 weeks after their arrest, they're going to be found guilty of a crime. They are guilty of this crime, of the murders. They had such a quick trial. A lot of people, even today, say it was an incredibly biased trial that did not give them a fair trial amongst their peers. They're going to maintain their innocence, and 4 years later, in 1925, there is going to be another man who admits to committing the crime, saying he was part of a local gang that decided to rob this store, and things escalated and they killed those 2 employees. But despite those, that other man coming forward, despite legal appeals in court, no retrial is going to be granted for these two people. Protests are going to erupt around the country, but despite all the public pushback, Sacco and Vanzetti are going to be executed on August 23rd, 1927. Even today, their guilt or innocence is still debated, but everyone can agree that they weren't given a fair trial because of their ties to socialism and communism, their political beliefs. So a lot of people say that their political beliefs and standings were put on trial during this time of the Red Scare, not the actual people, and that they were found guilty based solely off of their political beliefs. Go ahead and finish up those questions. If you have any questions, I know this was a very short overview of the Red Scare. Please ask them. I'll answer them as best I can. Hope you guys are doing well, and I will talk to you next time. All right. Bye, guys.